mysteries abound around the world, from strange lights in the night sky to ghostly apparitions passing from one realm to the next. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to what lies beneath the depths of Loch Ness. From Bigfoot to Atlantis, they are all mysteries waiting to be solved. Join Laurie Phillips, Lauren Smith, Graz, and Billy Simmons as they search for the truth on Night Callers Radio.
Good evening and welcome to Night Callers Bigfoot Radio. It is December 3rd, 2015, and you're here with all of your hosts as well as a guest host. You've got Lori, Lauren, Graz, and Billy, and our guest host tonight is Kenny. He's going to help us interview this guest a little bit. How are you guys doing tonight?
Wonderful.
Doing marvelous.
Great.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah. What the heck is that?
Hoping everyone out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving, because it was a real nice Thanksgiving for the rest of us, and it was great to have that break. And we're sorry we weren't on last week, but it was really nice to have that holiday off. And so hope everyone had a really good and wonderful Thanksgiving.
Fantastic.
Tonight we've got a really great show lined up, but first of all, I want to find out what's been going on the last 2 weeks. Anybody got anything to share?
Nope.
Nobody.
Just Thanksgiving. Just time off.
There you go.
It's raining
great
up here. We got a storm coming through right now. We lost power a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, so it's been a little bit interesting up here. Of course, that's typical Washington weather.
It finally got cold
here.
here. Yeah, it finally got cold. Really cold. It's down in the 30s this morning, and I was just so tickled about that because it has been so warm and rainy, and just it didn't, I had already packed away all of my summer clothes, and I was running around just turning on air conditioners and everything else. It was stupid Texas weather. It makes us find what it wants to do. But now it is finally cold. Thank you.
Well, finally, it got cold here. Last week we were in a tornado warning. When was it? Monday? I don't know. Sometime in the past few days we had an earthquake. So everyone is calling Oklahoma the state of the Quake-nado. If you move to Oklahoma, you got to watch out for the Quake-nados. And
God bless.
It's so messed up. It's like,
Sounds like it.
I mean,
At least it's not boring.
At least it's not what?
Boring.
Boring.
Never boring.
That's true. I was laying there in bed, and we have a pocket door that shakes if you even breathe on it. That thing started going nuts, but I was asleep, and so I don't know if you've ever seen a fainting goat. That's what I did in the bed, basically, just kind of like stiffened up, like, oh God! I just knew someone had run into our house, or they were trying to break into our house through the wall. I don't know. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And so I'm laying there, stiffened up. I don't know what kind of defense mechanism that is, but it sucks. I get paralyzed. And probably the same reaction I'd have if I ever actually saw a Squatch, which is not healthy. And then Ricky's behind me. He's like, I think we just had an earthquake. Yep. And we went back to sleep. Yeah.
So what did it register on the Richter scale?
I think it was a 4.5.
Okay.
I don't even know how big that is. I think all of us
big enough to wake you up, apparently.
Yeah, it was big enough to wake me up out of a sound asleep and shake my bed.
My goodness.
I know.
I'm just thankful I don't have all of that. It's bad enough having warm weather when it's supposed to be cold, but earthquakes? You can have all that.
I don't want it.
I live in the middle of 7 volcanoes. What are you guys worried about?
The storms that knocked your power out and everything else. That's terrible.
We got those too.
I was going to say a while ago, before we came on, just in case I disappear, that means my power went out.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have a really fabulous guest tonight. Somebody who's a dear friend to all of us. And been trying to get her on the show for a while, but she's always busy. But finally, we caught her available. So we need to bring her on. And Kenny's going to help us. Kenny, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Anyway, Kenny's going to help us. He's real good friends with our guest as well, so he's going to help us out tonight. And so, Graz, why don't you go ahead and do that introduction, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Well, Night Callers Bigfoot Radio presents Ohio researcher Tina Harter. Tina was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. Throughout her childhood, she would often spend her summer months on her grandparents' farm in the hills of northern Tennessee, where she developed an appreciation for nature, animals, and the outdoors. Through the years, her interests have expanded into various areas of science, crypto, zoology, and even paranormal. However, 30 years after that summer evening in her friend's backyard, that memory and experience came back to her, and Bigfoot has been her main passion ever since. Over the last 10 years, Tina has increased her studies by researching many books and articles on the subject. She has been involved in a few groups in the tri-state area. Is a member of a weekly Skype discussion group, attended several conferences, and has joined various blogs and focus groups within the Bigfoot community. She is the administrator and one of the creators of the internet group Bigfoot Under The Radar, and is out in the field at least 2 times a week to learn as much as possible about the Bigfoot phenomenon. She has combined her passion with trying to understand Bigfoot with a passion for photography, and has researched Southwestern Ohio quite heavily. She has some particularly favorite spots where she has acquired physical evidence of footprints, as well as thousands of pictures of stick structures and other signs. She's had other sightings as well, but so far it has eluded the lens of her camera. Tina believes that her strong determination to research Bigfoot is to hopefully get some answers about her experience as a teen. We'll discuss that in a little bit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Graz. Hey, Tina, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, I'm doing great.
Good. We're so glad that you came on the show tonight. We're so glad that we were able to finally catch you when you weren't going to a conference or out in the field or doing all the things you do. So we're really, really happy to have you on tonight. And it's going to be a lot of fun because this is the Skype group right here. This is the Skype group.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep.
So I want everyone to feel like that we're on Skype, okay? So let's try to just
keep it clean.
Well, we just got to keep it clean and no kernel, but everything else will be
needed for you.
Oh, that ain't right. You got to have the kernel in here.
No, it is
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
We are glad to have you here. But, you know, not everybody knows how it all started for you. So can you tell us how it all began for you?
Yeah, basically it started for me way back when I was about 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. Actually, right before I turned 16, I was staying with a friend of mine. She, you know,
and this
her
was in
sister had
Ohio, right? Was this
yes,
in
this
Ohio?
was in Ohio. It's it's about not even a quarter mile from where I'm living now. It was in the Liberty Township area, and her mother and her sister. Her sister was living in a house that was renovated from a barn, and we were coming out of that house. It was probably like 1:30 in the morning, and you know, as a rule, there was a fence that went around the house. Now, her sister had a 4-year-old daughter and also had a little dog, so you know, a rule was when you came out of the house, you always had to, you know, shut the gate, so number one, the dog wouldn't get out, also because of her daughter. And you know, so we were coming out real late, and we were just going to walk right up the path to her house, you know, the back of her house, and go in. So she was ahead of me, and she went out the gate, and I was coming out right behind her, and I was going to latch the gate down, and you know, she was just frozen, and you know, I didn't know what was wrong with her because she wasn't moving, and you know, it's like she just gasped. I didn't know what was wrong, and she was looking down the fence line, and I looked down where she was looking, and there was a silhouette of something black, and it was huge, and it was like big enough that it was like kind of bent over the fence, and it was, you know, like petting or messing with the dog. And we didn't even know at the time that the dog was out, because normally, you know, he was very loud, barking, and you know when he's out. And, you know, I looked at her, and we were, like, terrified, and all she said was, run. And so probably that was not the best thing to do. But, you know, at that age, you just don't know. And so we took off running. Now, it's not that far from that gate up to the back door of her house, where her house was. The patio was it was a very old house, so it was just a plain concrete patio. So we got to the concrete patio, you know, I think there was like 5 concrete steps, got up the steps, but by the time we hit those steps, it had almost caught up with us. It was that fast. You know, through the screen door, the storm door opened. She opened the back door. She went in, but by the time I got in, someone had grabbed hold of my arm and tried to pull me back out the door. And I looked down, and whatever it was that we had seen on the fence line had grabbed hold of my arm. And so she grabbed hold of my other arm, and it was just like pulling. She was pulling, and I say it because we didn't know what it was. We just knew it was not a man, and we just didn't know what it was. And so we were screaming. She was terrified. I was terrified. I looked down at the hand that was on my arm, and, you know, I seen what it was not a man's hand. And I kind of looked back, and I could see the outline, the shape. I could see shoulders. It looked like it had the neck, but a very large, wide neck. I could see the shape of the head. I could see, like, you know, like hair sticking up on the head. And her mother was home, but she was in bed. And I guess all the screaming woke her up. And so her mother came down, and her mother turned, and, you know, the way the house was set up, as her mother came down the steps and started walking towards the back of the house, I guess it saw her mother coming, and it just let go. And we both fell into the back room, and which was the laundry room, is where we were coming in from. And her mother was like, "What's the matter?" And we told her, something tried to grab me. It wasn't going to let go. And her mother said, "Oh, it was a man." And we're like, no, it was not a man. And she said, "Well, I'm going to call the police. A man tried to grab you." And I'm like, no, it was not a man. It was, it was something black, but it didn't have clothes on. I know it didn't have clothes because I didn't see clothes. So it was not a man. So you can't call the police and report it. And that was the first, experience that I had with what, it was the only thing. After that, I would, before that, I was friends with her since 5th grade. And, her and I would always be out in the woods constantly. We would take sack lunches. We'd go walk 4 or 5 miles back, sit and eat. I was constantly at that home. But after that night, I would never go back. I would never return. I told her I just will never come back. I can't do that. I'm too afraid. And same with her. She would never go out at night again unless someone was with her because she was just too afraid. And, and I didn't. I never returned to the house again.
Well, I can't really blame you there.
Mm-mm.
Man, I bet you wanted to leave the house that night. I'm surprised you didn't.
I did. I actually
go home.
did. I had to. I did. I called my parents, and they were like, can't you just stay until? And I'm like, no, you have to come get me tonight. I cannot stay. You have to come. I was hysterical, and my dad came and picked me up, and it was a shame. I loved her parents. They were so, they were so good to me. They were almost like, my adopted parents, and vice versa. My parents were real good with her, but I just never returned to the house. I would visit during the day, but I would not stay at night. I couldn't. I was too afraid. So now her brother would tease her, and which was it because he was a lot older than her, and he would say, I'm going to lock you out and let the creek monster get you. They had heard before this incident. They at night they would hear like something like splashing or walking heavy in the creek, and so the creek was right next to the house, and they would say, it's just the creek monster. That's what her brother, that's what they would say. Oh, that's just the creek monster, But until this night, it was the first time, her or I had ever experienced anything like that.
And you forgot about that for a long time, didn't you?
I did. After I went home, I had nightmares, and they, I had a lot of nightmares at first, but then after what I was able to block it out, and I just slowly after having nightmares for a while, my mind was able to block it out and go on and move on and leave it to where I was able to stop having the nightmares and start, kind of living normally. But the thing of it was I continued to have interest or, wanting to have more and more knowledge and try to find out as much as I could. Anything about Sasquatch, anything about Bigfoot, anything about cryptozoology, I would constantly want to study. Even though that was a terrifying experience for me, I still wanted to, find out as much as I could about that. I wanted to know exactly what that was. I had to find out. So I continued to search for every piece of thing I could find, on that subject. I don't know, even after a while, even after blocking it out, I still, for some reason had to find out, and I continued to search. So, it was kind of, even after, I couldn't quite pinpoint it, but I still continued my search. I'm trying to figure it out and try to find out as much as I could. So, and then eventually it did come back.
Can you recall the day that you remembered?
Yeah, I can. You know, her and I, like I said, had been friends since 5th grade. And, you know, as you get older, you know, things come in, you know, life happens. So, you know, her and I, we got married, we had kids, you know, and things like that. You know how people can drift in and out of your life, and that kind of happened with us. We got busy, and we would see each other every so often. And I would invite her, you know, I guess it was probably about, I hate to say this, I guess 9 years went by that we didn't get to see each other. She moved out of state, you know, and I didn't get to see her for a long time. But then she moved back, and things just, people drift in and out of people's lives. And anyway, I was able to find her, get a hold of her, and I invited her to my home. And we were sitting on the back steps of my house, and we were talking. And she said, "Don't you remember that?" And it's just like, oh my gosh. And it just come flooding back into my head, everything. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember it all now. It was really strange. It's just like my mind opened up and everything come flooding back. So, you know, that was the time that I remembered it, when she was sitting right next to me, and she said, "Don't you remember that? Don't you remember that happening?" And it's like, yeah, I do. And it all came back. So it was, you know, her sitting beside me, you know, kind of jarring my memory, or having her open a part of my mind that was closed. And that's how I got that memory back that I shut off for so long. So I guess it was her, like, having to sit next to me and having her come back into my life, and having her open that part of the mind that I shut is what opened it back up. Now, she had other sightings. She lived in that home. Her parents her lived in that home, you know, for years and years after that. And she had 2 additional sightings, you know, I guess I think she was probably 19 years old, and I think she said she was around almost 21 years old or something. I think she had 2 other sightings living in that house. And when she got where she was old enough, she moved. She said, "I didn't want to live there anymore." I think so. I think one of them was she was asked to feed her sister's dogs, and she pulled in. They were away, and she pulled into the driveway, and she seen a pile of mulch that was. She said, "Well, that's an odd place for them to have mulch delivered," and it was like a pile back in the field. And she went and fed the dogs, came back out, and she looked, and the pile of mulch was gone. And she said, wow. "I don't think that was mulch." Yeah, she said, "I don't think that was mulch," you know, because it looked. To her, it looked like it was mulch, but she said, when I came back out, the pile was gone. She said, "I don't think that was mulch," you know. She said, yeah, she said, so, she said, you know, she had 2 other that sighting and one other one. But she said as soon as she got old enough, I think she got, you know, she went on ahead and moved. So there was another one where she thought she'd seen it in the creek. So
there was a creek nearby?
Oh, yeah, it's right next to the house. It's really, really close. And actually, the creek that runs by that house where it runs right in my backyard now. I mean, the same creek. Yeah, so, you know, I do not go in my backyard, ever. Not at night. So.
Have you ever had any experiences where you
how
live
large
now?
the creature was?
Oh, well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I got a text here. Digger Dog in the chat room. Wants to know how large this creature was.
The one that we seen when I was 16. It was big. I mean, I can't even guess. I mean, it was. It is the biggest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, for me as a teenager, I'm gonna have to guess like 8.5, 9 feet tall. I mean, it was big. You know, it was just black. I mean, big enough that, you know, the kind of fence that was there was like your average, you know, in the, you know, like old chain link fence is what was up. And, you know, it had no problems. It was standing right up against that fence. And it was like just bent over, just petting that dog. I mean, it was tall. It was big. So, I mean, for us, you know, we thought it was like a monster in a way at the time. We didn't know. I had no idea of I never heard of Bigfoot. I never heard of Sasquatch. I have never heard of anything like that at that age. We just thought it was a monster. I mean, that's what we saw standing there. And probably the worst thing we could have done was running. I think that was the wrong thing to do at the time. But that's the only thing we knew to do. Or in our minds, that's probably, you know, that when you see something like that, you know, and that's the only thing your mind tells you to do is to run. So that's what we should probably not have done that. But yeah, it was a good size. So that's what I would say.
You know, I ran away as a 40-year-old, so I don't think a 15-year-old is going to have too many problems. Now, that thing probably, you know, was bending over petting the dog and stuff. It was probably pretty friendly. It saw the two girls running away. It just wanted to play. You know, come out and play. Grab your arm. Come on out.
It did not hurt the dog. It did not hurt the dog, which is, yeah. And the dog was like the dog was usually very annoying because he would bark and yap at anything. It was like a Jack Russell Terrier mix kind of dog.
Mm-hmm.
A little, yeah, and he was always real noisy.
Yeah, my grandfather had those.
Mhm. And yeah, the dog was fine. People always say, you know, when they hear the story, it's like, did it kill the dog? Did it kill the dog? Nope, didn't kill the dog. Dog was fine. So, it's kind of unusual. I don't know if I don't know if that's a normal story that they've been seen messing with dogs or not. But yeah, he left the dog alone and didn't hurt him. So, apparently, you know, if that was we had that sighting, then she's seen it 2 more times. Maybe he had messed with the dog before or after. I don't know. So, you know, the dog seemed fine. But that was my first experience.
We've got another quick question coming out of the chat room, Tina.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy McGee would like to know, were you on the latest Dogman encounters?
Were
you on an episode?
Again, Billy?
I said,
no.
Wendy McGee wants to know, were you on the latest episode of Dogman Encounters?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay, Tina, I have a question.
Okay.
Do you think you have activity on your place?
Yeah, I think there has been. There's a research, you know, I have a research area that I go to, and when I do research, I've been going to the same area now for about 7 years. You know, I have found an area that's very active, and I have just stuck with that area. I've gone back time and time again. The thing of it is, you know, when I don't go, you know, if I go out usually like 2 times, maybe 3 times a week. It seemed like when I miss and I don't go out, I'm kind of clumsy. It's kind of, you guys know how clumsy I am. But when I fell and broke my ribs, and then I also broke my leg in 2 places. So when I broke my ribs, I couldn't go out for 2 weeks. And I got up, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was going to get something out of my refrigerator. Well, my back of my house is glass. The whole back, I think Kenny's seen this. You know what I'm talking about, Kenny. So the back is glass. I didn't have anything hanging in that area, no curtains, no nothing. So you could see all the way in the back. And so I was getting something out, looking in the fridge, trying to find out what I wanted to drink. And we had issues with the security lights coming on, and I couldn't figure out why, because they're mounted pretty high. And I heard something hitting the deck, you know, like at night, 2 nights before. And I thought, you know, well, maybe it's deer or something, because I had caught I saw something white. I just caught a glimpse of it, like 2 nights before. And so, of course, I'm in there getting something to drink, and when I walked in there, the security lights were on in the back already. And I'm like, well, okay, that's odd. But I didn't think, you know, I went on ahead and was looking, and all of a sudden I heard something bink, you know, something hitting the window, the big windows in the back. And I'm like, what is that? You know, and all of a sudden, again, and it's like something's being thrown at the window. And I kept hearing it, and then I look out on the deck, and it's like little mud balls and little rocks are being thrown at my window. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I go and smush my face up against the window, and sure enough, something is throwing rocks and little mud balls at my window. And then I think, oh my gosh, you know, I don't know. The only thing that I know that would be throwing rocks and mud balls at the window, you know, I kind of think what could be doing that, I don't know. I can't be for sure. But, okay, I'm not going to take any chances. I'm leaving. I didn't even get anything to drink. I just left where I couldn't be seen, and I came back and got back in my room. So I got up the next morning, and there was handprints on the window from the outside. The dew had collected around the oil from the hand. And the handprints are pretty large, but 100% can I tell what did that? No. But it's kind of odd. So, you know, it just seems strange that only happens, you know, stuff like that happens when I can't get out to the research area, you know, and look around and see what's been going on.
Well, I remember when that happened, and got to thinking about it. And I went on Google Earth and looked at your house and looked at your area, and there is a creek that goes all the way from your area down to your house.
Yes.
It's a little bit creepy, but there's a creek that goes all the way down to your house. And we got to thinking about it that, I don't know, this is getting in the woo-woo area, but it has happened before to some other people. Geronda had the same problem. I don't know if that's happening with Kenny, but he gets his little action going out in the background.
So does the creek connect to your research area, Tina?
Yeah, you know, the creek does. I mean, if you check, the creek behind the house, you can walk it all the way to where I do all my research. If I got in the creek and just walked, it would go all the way to where my research area is.
How far is that from where you live?
3 miles.
Right.
Oh, wow, that's easy. It's easy then.
Yeah, so,
probably
you know, is it
100%?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah. You know, it's kind of where I got pictures of the handprints. They're pretty good size. And And, next morning I looked, and there was all kinds of the little mud balls and, like, rolled up little mud balls all over the deck. So I just swept them off, and I took pictures, of the window, and I just wiped it clean. And, I still had, the rest of the time I was kind of laid up that I couldn't go out, I still had, issues with the security lights coming on and hearing something hit the deck. And I can't say what was doing it. I don't know. But as soon as I was able to get up and get out and start going back to my research area, it stopped. I didn't have that problem anymore. And I don't want to sound woo-woo or anything, but, I don't know what, I don't know what was causing it. Now, I've been going to my research area now for 7 years, and it's very active. And like I said, I've been there I actually went there the very first time. I was actually going there to take pictures of beavers, and I enjoy taking pictures of wildlife.
And you're a wonderful photographer, by the way.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
And when I first went out, I was walking around, and I kind of noticed, some of this stuff looks a little bit weird. This doesn't look kind of normal. And, if people would just, pay a little bit more attention and look around, I think, they would realize, hey, maybe something's going on here, that's what I did. And, so I thought, this is a pretty good place, and I've never left. I've sort of stayed around, made that kind of my place, and I kind of share it with them. And it's a really, really active area, and I found so many footprints. I've got so many pictures. I've got a few castings, which I was kind of want Kenny to talk about, because I've taken the cast and I've actually took them to Kenny with his background. I wanted him to actually look at them, be able to hold them, kind of look them over for me and get his opinion. And, he was able to do that for me. This was, 2 years ago, Kenny?
Yeah, at the Ohio conference.
Yeah.
What did you find,
so he was
Kenny?
able to...
Well, what I looked at them pretty thoroughly, and I measured them. And what was really remarkable about, and I think you've actually seen these footprints develop over time, the same individual, but what was really unique was the morphology, the size of the foot and how it was designed, and also it had a congenital deformity in its toes. And this is something that you can't. It's almost impossible to fake. And it was a living foot, but it was designed differently than a human foot. And that's what struck me immediately was the width of the foot, but also this congenital deformity that was in the toes, which is something that you do occasionally see. The Ballsberg tracks and had a similar deformity, but it was more along the lower part of the foot in the Ballsberg tracks. This was set further up in the toes, and I believe Tina was telling me that in later periods that she's actually seen this footprint also appear again in her area. So this is of an individual, and to me it looked genuine and was quite remarkable.
Could you determine the size of the? Oh, I'm sorry. Could you determine the size of the person who made the print?
It's really hard to tell. I mean, it looked like the length of the track. What was really astounding was the design of the foot. It wasn't. I think the track was almost 11 to 12 inches, maybe a little bit longer, but the width of the foot was really extraordinary. And again, the deformity in the toes was what really struck me as well. And it was not a human foot. It was definitely designed differently. And the location that it was taken was quite remote. And but I would determine the track of that size of the individual to be well over 7 feet. And and it was really a well-defined cat. You could actually see the dermal ridges in the feet and the foot, which go horizontally, unlike human dermal ridges. And the foot was just designed differently, and I was really struck by that.
Okay, Tina, you were going to say something, and I cut you off. I apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. Now, this particular cast, when he talks about the foot and the deformity, I'm able to. I've seen this print over and over again with the toe deformity. Like you said, this individual is easy for me. Like, I can walk around in my research area, and I've seen this track its print over and over again. The toes are actually deformed, so I can spot this particular print. I'm like, oh, there's the one with the deformed foot, the deformed toe. And I've, over like the last couple years, you can tell because the foot would get longer or bigger. It's to me, I'm able to say it's this particular one is still in the area, and in my area, I can only say that I find maybe like 3, maybe 4 different sizes as far as footprints, and that's it. I haven't been able to say I found any more than that. But the one with the deformed toe is the easiest one for me to spot because of the deformity. The particular cast that I think is my best cast that I have is because he came up out of the creek and was stepped over this log, and it actually stepped into where it was mud and clay, and I was able to get such a great cast. But because of that, I can recognize his foot, from anywhere out of all of them because of the deformity.
That's one of the best casts I've ever seen. All the the detail in the clay was just perfect. I mean, everything, the situation, everything was just perfect. I mean, the mid-tarsal break, everything was right there.
Mhm. Got his toenails. I mean, you can see the toenails. The toenails are long. I was amazed. I was really amazed with it.
Yeah, it's one of the best tracks I've ever seen. They talk about a living foot, a living track, and that was really when I saw that, I was very impressed with it.
Which was a little depressing when Rand sent the pictures off to Mr. Meldrum. He considered it to be too human, but a human doesn't have a mid-tarsal break like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. The foot was designed. the whole morphology of the foot was not human. I disagree with that. The foot, the way when I looked at the track and I was holding it and looking it up and down and measuring it, the whole design of the foot was just different than the human foot. And pictures are really two-dimensional. You really don't get a sense of the track unless you're holding it in your hand and looking at it from all different angles. And I don't think that was the human foot. I'm pretty certain it wasn't.
Well, it's hard when you look at it from the pictures. So
yeah, pictures really don't give you a full detail of the track. You really have to really examine it from all directions, and I don't know what
Rand sent. I've got the full set still here in my hard drive here, but there are a couple of them that at certain angles you can actually see the dip down from the toes. It's flat or round, but it's level with the toes, and then suddenly dips down to the arch and to the heel, and you can see where that mid-tarsal break we don't have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But and it depends on which ones that Rand sent to him. But that's okay.
I don't know. I don't know which ones he did.
The pictures I thought the most fascinating was the bog that had probably 30, 40 prints going back and forth through this one bog. It was a regular crossing area. That one was fascinating.
Yeah.
You were concentrating on one footprint, and after a while, me and Luke and Billy were finding prints all over the damn place. I was circling in red and showing it to you. That one bog was fascinating.
Well, yeah, because I came in and I was like, I found another footprint, and you guys ended up circling like 30. But see, that's me. You know, I have this OCD thing, and when I'm out, you know, I have a tendency to concentrate on one thing, and you know, I tend to overlook sometimes, and I'm trying to be better at that. That kind of happened when I had that sighting in May.
As far as learning how to tell all this stuff, I mean, you got Billy and Luke and me used to finding tracks and stuff out there, but that's what it took. He sent the pictures to us. You're finding a track. Yeah, I found another track, and sending the pictures in. And we were having circle pictures for a while there.
Right. But that's, like I said, that's kind of like, you know, that sighting I had in May. I wasn't quite watching my surroundings, you know, and it kind of taught me my lesson. You know, to look, you know, watch my back and
Tina, we're going to have to
be
talk
aware
about
of
this.
everything that's going on, you know, around
right.
Around
we're going to
me.
have to talk about this here. We're going to have to talk about that sighting.
Right.
And the stinky turtle.
Right.
Stinky turtle.
Oh, I've heard this story.
Yeah.
Go ahead and start from the beginning of your stinky turtle story.
Okay. I had talked to a good friend of mine, Winona Alexis, and she kind of taught me how to do some sign language. And she said, you know, go out there and, I tell you what, go out there and do some sign, I want to see you, you know, and see, because I was having, as soon as I hit my research area and walked in, I had what I call shadowing, where I could hear something walking, you know, alongside of me, but in the bushes, you know, or in the bush, in the tree, but I couldn't see it, but I could hear it. And she said, well, I tell you what, when you get to a certain point where you think or you hear that something's following you or you think they can see you, do the sign and say, you know, sign, I want to see you, and see what happens. And I said, okay, I can do that. And so I did that, like, you know, 5 times, and I said, well, that's not going to work. And so I just went on up to the main trail, and I was walking, and I came up, you know, up close to this, you know, overlook area, but I seen that there was this turtle that was crossing, trying to make its way down to the swamp, and that's usually where I hang out, is in the swamp area. And I looked down at it, and it had all this green stuff all over it. I did not know what this stuff was. I thought it was a fungus or something. And I kind of looked down, and I started to smell this really bad smell. I kind of thought it was the turtle that was smelling bad. I didn't know what was wrong with it. So I said, well, you know what, I'm going to take a picture of it. And, you know, I sort of like sat down, cross-legged, sat down, started taking pictures of the turtle, and the smell was like really, really bad. In my area, there's a train tracks not far away, and trains started to go by, and I started to hear this noise, and I kind of thought, well, maybe, you know, I didn't pay much attention to it. I kind of let the sound be attributed to the train, and I kept taking pictures of the turtle. And I kind of I think I've talked with Graz and Billy about this. I got like tunnel vision. I kind of really concentrate on one thing. And I kept hearing this noise, and it kind of sounded like, like maybe an elephant roaring. It was really a weird sound. I didn't really pay it much attention until I realized, wait a minute, the train is already gone. What is that noise? And I kind of thought, well, you better stand up and turn around and find out what that is. And so I stood up and I turned around, and when I did, behind me, down the path, and I think this is what shocked me the most, was not only was what was standing down there, but the color. When I turned around and looked, standing down, not far, very close, actually, was a Sasquatch. Now, what shocked me the most was the color, and he was white, and I was
thought
in
you
shock.
were going to say he was purple or blue or lime green.
He was standing in the middle of a portal. How can you tell? It's going to go all kinds of
Oh, my goodness. Go ahead, Tina. I'm sorry. He was white. Fall out? Oh, no. Tina fell out.
What? Hold on.
We went and picked on her, and she fell out.
Yeah, you done pissed it off.
And she was kind of cutting out a little bit for a while there.
Yeah, she was. I thought it was just on my end, but she should call back in a minute.
That poor turtle. She was saying that poor little turtle. You stink, she was saying. She was talking to the turtle while she's taking pictures of it. You stink. She left that part out. Poor little turtle. I think hopefully she's trying to call back again. I haven't got her number written down right now. I could try calling her from this end.
The number's up at the top of the studio there if you want to try calling her back. I don't know if you can.
Well, if she's trying to call here, that would it wouldn't work anyway.
You remember her telling me that when she was so startled by seeing it, at that point it had turned and walked away, that she fell back and kind of hurt herself because she was so startled by it.
Oh, there she is. Are you back?
I'm back.
There you go.
Okay. We were teasing you about the color of that Bigfoot. Yeah, we were teasing you about the color of that Bigfoot, and all of a sudden you fell out. You missed it.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say was that it was just white, and then the fact that his hair was the hair was so long on the face, I could not really see anything on his face, almost like a sheepdogish kind of thing going on. And his hair, as soon as I turned around and he saw that, I saw him. It's just like automatically, like one big step, and he was like off the path and almost into the wood line. And when he took a step and lifted his arm, the hair on his arm was really, really long. But to tell you the truth, his hair was nice. It really looked like he was very well groomed. Actually, it's not like, because I was always talked to Graz and Billy and Winona and Kenny about this. It's like a lot of times I see pictures people put on Facebook or on the internet, and they show pictures of like Bigfoot, and it looks like a bad 70s rug or something. It's like, it really does. But what I saw looked like hair. You know, it looked nice. It didn't look nasty.
Hair.
Pretty hair, it really did. He looked like he had nice hair. He looked groomed. You know, it didn't look nasty. It didn't look like a bad 70s rug. And I guess the other thing that shocked me was he was white. And the thing of it shocked me so much that it's like my legs went limp. I mean, I actually fell down. I bloodied both. I fell so hard my knees, you know, I got both my knees went. I got my knees got all scratched up. I hit my head so hard. I thought I was going to bust my teeth out. I mean, I don't know what happened or why, you know, that happened. I don't know if it was from the shock of what I saw. I don't know why it was, but it's just like, you know, my legs just went out from underneath me. And so then I stood back up and I walked back out to where I thought I might be able to catch another look at him. And, you know, he was gone, or, you know, I thought at least he was gone because I couldn't see him. But I could still smell that bad, horrible smell. So, you know, whether he could have been hiding or, you know, but I couldn't see him. And so that was my last sighting, and that was in 2012. And, you know, so for as long as I've been doing this, you know, I had the sighting when I was 16, and I didn't want that sighting. You know, that, for me, that was, you know, horrific. I mean, that was terrifying. And, you know, the one in 2012, you know, that was, you know, I ended up getting injured in that one too. But, you know, and I'm still looking. I'm still trying to find answers. And, you know, so I'll carry on. I keep looking and I'll keep researching. So those are about the only two, you know, sightings that I've had. I mean, I still do take my pictures. I still, you know, that's the thing. I still go out. You know, I go out and I enjoy myself when I'm out in the field. I don't strictly go out there for the purpose of only looking for Bigfoot or, you know, Bigfoot stuff. I go out there to, you know, look for, you know, birds. I go out there to photograph landscape. I go out there to enjoy myself. So, you know, I don't want to get burned out, basically.
Excuse me, Tina?
Yeah?
We have the whole crew here now. Is Winona there?
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, Winona.
Hey, Winona.
Hey, sis.
Hey, sis. What's up?
Not much. I was just listening. Thought I'd call in and say hi and let you know I was here.
Oh, great. Great. Yeah, Winona and I, we've been friends forever. Actually, Winona she's visited me. She's actually has been to my research area. I took her there probably like 3 years ago, Winona.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
2013.
Yep. So, I mean, yes, I actually took her down. She looked it over. So we actually found evidence that there was actually bear in the area, which they say there's not, but there is. So, yep. So it's, you know, she likes it. She does. Yep. So she thought it was a pretty nice area. It's kind of swampy, and we have, you know, and the area is kind of nice. It has swamp. It has a meadowland. It has a, you know, forest, woods. I mean, it has like everything, you know, everything I think you need. It's all mixed together.
Very diverse area where kind of different ecological areas come together in one place. And it's also connected to a bigger area. Yeah. It was really nice. It was a nice place. definitely a good place.
Yeah, and it's, I'm the one that, I like to just put my boots on and get out, and I'm the only crazy one you'll see out in the swamps walking around, so, I like being out in that area. You won't find anybody else out there, because there's a lot, and Billy yells at me because of the snakes, but, I like being out there, checking things out, and I put my cameras out. You won't find, I think I had my plot watchers out. I think I only seen one other person out in, 2 years that I've had stuff out, and I think he was lost.
That is so awesome.
So, yeah. So it's basically, I'm usually the only one out there roaming around, so I like it. I like it like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time since I've had an area like that.
Yeah,
really.
It's nice. It's nice.
It is. It's pretty. It's a pretty place. Ohio has got some really nice areas if you travel around it a bit.
They do. It's nice. Ohio has. It has a lot of nice places.
And you're like 30 minutes from Kentucky. So
yeah.
You're in Western Ohio.
Yes, I am. Not far from Indiana. Not far from Kentucky. Can hit all those, relatively fast, actually. Not far to drive.
And it just goes to show you don't have to go hiking in 5 or 6 miles into the woods to find a Bigfoot.
No, not really. Nope.
I think it's about time to take a quick intermission and come back in, let's see, how long's the intermission? 8 minutes, 19 seconds. So everybody get up, go walk around for a little while, get something to eat, get something to drink, listen to music. We'll be right back. Now, I really should have made some coffee. That song just about put me to sleep. God. It was a nice song. I'll give it that. It didn't go well with my German chocolate cake, but that's all right. Tina.
Yes.
There you are. Winona?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm glad you called in because I'm going to bring up an interesting subject. It's kind of touchy because some people had some issues with it here and there. But and Winona's going to have to try to remind me of the timeline because I think she was part of the very, very beginning of it, having to deal with sticks and stick structures. Before I get into the symbology of it, I remember it started with you finding certain things here and there that were kind of unexplainable but really cool. One of them looked like a dream catcher going across a pathway of some kind. You remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually found two of those. I came across two of those. It resembled or like a medicine wheel kind of.
Right.
Yeah. It kind of resembled, but big.
Big.
Yeah.
5 or 6 feet across or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. And very, very, very well made. But yeah, I came across two of those, and it did kind of resemble that. I mean, I took pictures of it, actually showed Winona. You guys looked at it, and we were trying to figure out exactly what it was. But it did start with that, actually.
It pretty much did start along that line. A little side note, just for anyone listening, is that everybody in here is the Skype crew.
Yes.
We've been Skyping together since some had started at different times. I started in just before Christmas of 2009. And Winona and Billy and Tina. Kenny came on just, about 2 years ago or something like that?
Yeah.
Along that line. But we've been Skyping together for a very, very, very long time, comparing our researches. And this angle was really fascinating. There was another person, Luke, and another person named Geronda. And Geronda was in Oklahoma, I think. And we were all comparing situations as far as symbology is concerned. So Tina and Winona maybe try to remember how that started about you finding these things on the ground.
Right.
As opposed to standing stick structures. You guys started finding things on the ground. And between you and Luke, you were starting to work things out. How did that actually start?
Well, like you said, I found the standing structures, and then we talked, and we thought, well, everybody was living, we spoke a lot in Skype, but then we decided, everybody was so scattered. We thought, well, what would happen if I'm here, Winona's in Canada, Luke's down in Texas, and what if let's say let's all start at the same time and lay a certain symbols down and see if we get the same result. Wouldn't that be kind of weird?
Previous to that, you were finding these symbols anyway.
We were, yeah.
Yeah, you were finding them on the ground, and everybody was trying to figure out what this was all about. Geronda had hers, and she was ending up getting those symbologies in her backyard, right behind her house. Right.
Well, her backyard butted up into a pretty big open air wooded area also.
Right, and she had the same thing that you did with a creek that led out into the woods. So the Bigfoot were coming up that creek and just dropping off at her place for some reason because she was out there a lot, and they might have followed her home. But these symbols were showing up on her in her backyard. You were finding symbols out in your area. Luke was finding stuff out in his areas, and Winona, did you actually find some, or were you just part of the experiment after?
Well, I had found, some interesting things that I was seeing other people post pictures of, which I thought was interesting. And it just so happened to be in an area where there was other anecdotal evidence. It was a research area to begin with because of sightings and other things. So I really didn't take part. I think I did one time. That was much later. Down.
Hola.
Sorry.
The Bigfoot got one of Mom's dogs.
But yeah, I was. We had our Google Hangout videos about that and everything because Tina and Luke were getting some interesting. Well, Tina especially was getting some interesting stuff. I still sit on the fence about it though these days as to what it is. But I do know that I see, like when we're driving down highways in Ohio, in Canada, all over. I'll see this one structure, and I'll be like, I've learned that there's water nearby. So I'll see it, and I'm like, okay, there's water up ahead. And I could never have been to that place in my life. And soon we'll cross a bridge that goes over a river or stuff like that happens. So it's interesting. I think it's, worth looking at, but you can't really say what you can't say what it is or who made it or anything like that. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards they do make some kind of I don't know if they make it or whatever. They're just it just seemed I lean towards them possibly playing with sticks, which wouldn't be too far out of the realm of reality. I mean, it's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
In their own language.
If it is a language, it could just be. I guess you could say if they're making something that looks the same everywhere, you have to make sure that those sticks didn't just, like it's not a bunch of trees that fell over or branches that fell down. I've seen a lot of people say, there's a teepee structure, and you can clearly look up the tree and see where branches have fallen off, and then they, they land in such a way. If you can look at something and say, the only way this could have occurred is if something brought these trees from different places. And then, then you have to question yourself, could a person have done this or, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you've got to be very careful. You have to look very close.
We've never made any claims, but, we've experimented and checked it out because anything bids that you notice bids looking into, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got a little distracted there by someone. All right. Well, the situation I was mostly concentrating on was the Geronda thing that between Geronda and Tina. They were coming up with matching symbols on the ground. And we didn't understand them. There's no way anyone could understand them, but it was an interesting interaction for quite a while there, a year and a half, 2 years or something like that. The backyard of, for instance, Geronda's place was getting things with a long stick about 3 feet long with different size sticks crossing it in different ways, and it ended up looking a lot like what do they call that Viking runic kind of stuff? Ogum?
Runes or runes?
Ogum.
Yeah, Ogum.
Or Ogum runes?
Yeah, it ended up looking a lot like Ogum. And this is one of the fascinating things that Luke did a lot of research on that. He got obsessed with it for quite a while, going back into European stuff. Well, no. Watch where that microphone's going. So you experimented for quite a while with different things. I mean, you were experimenting with things like putting little balls out there next to it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you did.
It was so funny because when it seems like in spring, and this is going to sound very strange to some people, it started like when I start, I walk, it goes back to my OCD, but in spring, I always walk a certain pattern, and I never change. I always go a certain way. Every time I go in, I walk this pattern. And it seems like in spring, it's going to, and I don't know, I find golf balls. And it's always been this way. And there is, why, I don't know. I'm not anywhere near, trust me, I've tried to find out, where are they coming from? I've really looked around. Anyway, I walked the pattern, and I started finding these golf balls everywhere. And I would reach down, pick them up, put them in my backpack as I walked, and then, I'd come back 2-3 days later, and there would be golf balls dropped. I'd pick them up, put them in my backpack. And, and it was like, what the heck is going on, And this was the first time that this had ever happened to me. And, I know someone's not, where are these coming from? And it kind of clicked, I said, okay, well, I had these balls here at my house, these little rubber balls, different colors with numbers on them. And so I'm going to take these out, and just to see what happens, I'm going to take them, and as I walk, I'm going to mark which number I dropped and where I dropped it, and so just to see what happens. So as I was walking, I took these balls and I dropped them, and I dropped one here, and I dropped one here, and I dropped one here, and dropped one here, and I left. And then I went back in 2 days, they were gone. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're gone. And I come back in 2 days, and I look around, and I start finding the balls that I dropped. They were in all different kinds of places. One was hid here, one was up in a tree, one was hid over here. It was like an Easter egg hunt. I was looking all over the places for these balls. Finally, I would find them, and then I would drop them and hide them in other places. And it was like hiding all over. It was constantly finding them and hiding them again. Find them, I would hide them again. But I would keep track of the numbers, where I found them, where I would hide them again. And that, I told you guys that you knew what I was doing. And it went on for how long? I was doing that for a long time. Who and what, I don't know. I can't say 100%.
Well, it started off with golf balls, didn't it?
Well, it started with the golf balls, yeah. But then I just would, once I dropped those color balls off and started playing with those, no more golf balls. The golf ball stopped. And then it was just repeatedly like a hide-and-seek kind of thing with these colored balls that I brought in. And I just kept track of those. And it seemed like, eventually, once I collected them all and I didn't hide them again, there was only one ball that I could not find, which was a red ball. And I was taking pictures of, different things, and finally ran and said, I see where your red ball is. It was in a picture. It was like 9.5 feet up in a tree in this one picture I took. And I went back, and sure enough, but it was gone after I went back. So, it seems like, I would go, and leave stuff, and everything I've ever left was returned. So it's kind of strange. It's like hide and seek of hiding things, and I would go back and would have to find it again. So it's really strange. I can't say 100% what I was playing, hide and seek with. I don't know. I would hide different things, different toys, different, the squeaky toy thing. I would,
right.
What was hiding them, I can't say for 100%. But, it was kind of odd, but, I did that for a while. You were the one that gave me the idea for that squeaky ball kind of toy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
I did that for a while. And, yeah, I hit those. And they would move, they would disappear. But they were all returned. So, it was kind of odd. And I did that for a while.
And I think you tried some of the peanut butter stuff for a while or something, and that just didn't pan out.
I did that only once.
Right.
Yeah, I only did that once. I put peanut butter out once, and it was never taken. It was never. It was not too fond of the idea that I think I think there was a idea of trying to trick, or I think that's got an idea that I was trying to trick them. So as far as leaving any kind of food, I never did that again. I will walk through my walk, and I will pick up any kind of food. I will pick berries. I will pick up walnuts. I will pick up any kind of food that's in that area that that they're accustomed to. I'll pick up any kind of food that I see, and then once I get a lot, like a handful, then I'll leave a pile. Whatever gets it, gets it. If it's squirrels, whoever, whatever. I don't leave peanut butter. I don't leave candy bars. I don't leave stuff like that. I don't gift food. And I left that peanut butter one time. That was back in 2011. But since then, I have never left any other food. I don't gift food. The reason being is you start doing that, and it's going to become a habit, and then they're going to, you're going to become their, like, drive-through. They're going to be expecting it. And
food is pretty much irrelevant to the communication level anyway.
Right, right.
All these little things with the balls and whatnot, you were building a communication level with them over time,
right.
building a trust with them, and they pick things up and move them around like a little game. And
right.
treating it like a game, they're treating it like a game, so you're getting back and forth on that part. And that one cycle you went through with the sticks, we couldn't understand what the hell they were saying.
No,
but they would move the sticks in certain ways that looked like Ogum or some kind of communication because you bumped into those things. They were there before you even, noticed them. They were doing that on their own or themselves for some reason. We don't know what it's for or what they're saying, but you decided one day to lay one out for yourself.
Exactly.
Geronda had basically found it in her backyard.
Yes.
I mean, they had put it there for her for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what it says or whatever, but she started experimenting with them. There's one picture of in Geronda's yard and in your area where you found it this way that are an exact match between the two places, several hundred miles apart.
Yes.
So this just blew us away, and then, like I said, Luke just got obsessed with it and went in all kinds of absolutely fascinating directions with it. And a lot of other people are starting to pick up on this also on the out in the Bigfoot world, where they're finding these sticks in certain ways. Again, we're hardly ever going to be able to even think about understanding what it is unless one sits down with you and says,
Exactly.
And explains it to you.
Exactly.
Like how I said.
And I said, and I actually left all kinds of these symbols out, and I actually do not know what they meant or what they said, so who knows? I really don't know.
Right, you would lay a
but all I
symbol
know
out
is I got
arbitrary, and they would change it for you in a certain way. And then you go back and change it to something else. They would change it back to what they had before. Like, no,
exactly.
This is how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. Tell me I was wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Right. It was fascinating.
It was very fascinating. And actually, there was one time, I take it back, I would always say, I would walk through and pick up like walnuts and stuff. There was one time I cheated. I ran through a grocery store that was near there, and I picked up these walnuts. This is something I found very interesting. I picked up some walnuts, and I thought, well, I'm going to leave these out. I'm going to leave these, out and see if they'll take these. And so I didn't realize it at the time, but the walnuts had red stamps on them, red ink stamps on them. And so what I did is I laid these walnuts down, and I walked, I left. And the funny thing of it is when I came back, it's amazing that, these walnuts did not go. You think if you lay them on the ground, at least squirrels or something would have taken these, but they didn't. Because I came back 2 days later, and what's weird is apparently, there was 2 walnuts that were crushed and eaten, and then there was 3 walnuts that was pushed aside, and the walnuts that wasn't eaten, I picked up and I looked. Those were the walnuts that had the red stamps on them. Those weren't eaten. And then I looked at the shells that were open and the insides of the the meat, the nut actually that was eaten. I looked at the shells that were left. They didn't have the red stamps on them. So I'm thinking, okay, I guess the nut that didn't have the red shell was good. I guess the nuts that had the red stamps were not good because they were pushed aside and not eaten. What I found very strange also is
they might have come from a different company that actually had a washing system that left the residue on there, and then you had the red stamp on it.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but then why in the heck did nothing else touch those? Why did squirrels not come down and take them? Why didn't it's just very strange. It's very strange. I don't know. It was a very strange thing that I could actually lay something down, and number one, they weren't touched by them. Nothing touched them, so it was a very weird experiment. But, strange. So, I don't know. That was the first time that I did bring anything in from the outside.
We've got a couple of
besides
questions.
the peanut butter that very first time.
Digger Dog is asking, has she taken pictures of these formations? And I can answer that. That's a definite yes. It's a huge yes. We've got a bunch of those pictures, 100 of them, a couple of hundred of them, of different types of formations, including the sticks and the medicine wheels and things like that.
Oh, I got tons. Yeah, I got lots and lots of pictures.
You're a prolific picture taker. Is that a word?
Yeah, and I don't. I just don't put. I don't put a lot of my pictures out on. You will not find my pictures on Facebook. I don't put a lot out on that. I will not put them out on Facebook. I don't put them out. I keep them kind of private. But I do have. You can ask Graz, Billy, Lori has seen a lot of mine. So I do have a lot. To show. So Kenny has seen, Winona has seen a lot of my pictures. So I do have a lot to back, what I've seen and what I do.
And we got another question from Watchdog. How high were these balls placed? And I think they were random, weren't they?
Random, yeah. The highest one probably was the red ball that I had looked forever for, and that's the one that Rand saw eventually. And he says, hey, there's that red ball you were looking for. It's back in that one tree. And it was way up. I actually would have to take a stick to get it down. It was way up in a tree. So, and by the time I went back to get it, it was gone. Because I told Rand, I don't know if I'm going to be able to reach that. I will have to take a stick and try and knock it down. And by the time I went back to get it, it was already gone. So, they would be all over the place. And
if I remember, you were finding those balls, some kind of balls, before you brought the numbered ones or something, didn't you?
Yes, golf balls. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you didn't find any colored ones before then? You just bought the colored ones and put them out there?
It was just plain white golf balls that I was finding first. And then
where the hell
I was the one that brought the colored balls out. Yeah.
I don't think there was, we talked about that. I don't think there was a driving range or anything around there, was there?
Nope. No. But I did do some research. And not far from my research area, there was there's a business that restores golf carts and stuff. It's I don't know how far it is from there. I don't have it off my mind. They restore golf carts, and they work on some golf stuff. And I think I looked. They do a lot of. It's a golf business, and I'm wondering if they don't maybe would get stuff like that out of the dumpster. It's something that I should have checked in. I could check into. It wouldn't surprise me if that's not where it comes from.
I can picture somebody out in the parking lot driving balls out in the end of the woods for practice.
Yeah. Huh?
So it may be that particular place where the dumpster's full. I don't know. I should have checked more. It's just I can't see anybody sitting there driving them into the forest, because this is way, way back in there. I mean, I'm talking where I'm finding them. I have to walk a good, mile and a half. Who's going to carry a golf ball and clubs that far back, mile and a half? I don't know who would do that. doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense.
Have you ever tried to communicate with them anymore like you did when you made the sign?
When I did the sign language? No, not really. The thing of it is, the first time before that particular sighting, I went out all the time by myself. I was always alone. I just did not, I was not afraid. I don't recommend anybody else going out alone, but I would go out alone. I always knew I had a feeling of them watching me. I could always tell because I would hear, I could hear them walking, just even if it was on the other side of the trees. Even though I couldn't see through the trees, I would hear footsteps, or I could hear the bushes moving sometimes. But still, I didn't have a lot of, I wasn't quite afraid. I would sing, just, to kind of get it off my mind. A lot of times there was one time like I was eating M&Ms as I walked. I on the tree, there was a way I would cut up through this one area, and I laid M&Ms in a line, stacked them up, and then on a tree as I walked out and I left, because I knew I was going to circle around and come back that way. And so, I went on through, walked through. I knew I was going to check some things. I knew I was coming back, and so I circled around and I came back, and of course all the M&Ms were gone when I came back. And I kind of thought they would be. And that's the only time I laid any kind of candy out. So I was not surprised that they were gone when I came back. But, after I had that sighting in May, it kind of shook me up a little bit, kind of scared me, kind of made me realize it's probably not a good idea that I'm out there alone. Not just because of, the sighting, but because of, the human factor. I had a little bit of a run-in, me being out there alone, and not a people factor, so I decided, it's probably best I start going out with a partner. And so since, that, I, kind of partnered up.
So you've gone out there with Greg several times, and Greg has actually seen Bigfoot.
Yes, he has, yeah. We, that's just something that's good advice I can give anybody who's listening is, try to do something that's, different, kind of off in a little way, because that's why, I told Greg, hey, let's grab some garbage bags and sharpen these sticks, and as we're walking, let's pick up garbage, because I hate to see garbage littering the forest. It bothers me. And I said, and I think that what might make them curious as to what we're doing, because I don't think they see that a lot. And I said, so, and then on top of it, we can pick up the garbage. It make me feel better. I don't like seeing this. And so as we were walking through right on the edge of the swamp, we're walking through and we're stabbing the garbage. Plus, I'm a little hyper anyway. And so we're walking through the swamp and stabbing the garbage and putting it in the garbage bags. And I think it was kind of making them curious as to what we were doing, because I don't think they'd probably seen this a lot. And so, we got to a certain point, and, Greg said, let's sit down. I said, okay, well, you go ahead. And so he sat down, and I'm a little hyper. I'm sitting there stabbing all kinds of stuff with my stick. And I guess, Greg's kind of leaning over, and he's looking, and he's like, sit down, sit down, sit down. He pulls me over. He says, something's looking at us. And I'm like, oh, okay. It didn't bother me because I'm used to it. I said, oh, really? Okay, that's okay. And he says, no, over there, between those two trees. And I'm like, well, what did it look like? He's black. And I said, black? He says, black. I said, okay. And he says, we got to go over here and look to see how big this was. And so he was really scared about it. It kind of threw him. He was kind of afraid. And so we went over to where it was, and we figured out where his head was and where these trees were, that it was about 8.5 feet tall. And by the time we figured out how tall it was, he says, "Okay, I think it's time we go home." So by the time he figured out how big it was, he got a little bit afraid, so he figured it was time to go. He didn't want to stay. So, but that was like the second time he's seen something black. So
was he a believer before all this, or not so much?
Do what?
Was he a believer before all this, or not so much?
Not so much, but after he saw that, yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. But it's like I said, it's kind of scared him. You know, it's hard. He doesn't believe much. I mean, it took him a lot. You know, same thing with the paranormal thing, you know, the ghost thing. It has to kind of smack him in the face before he believes it. So I think that kind of had to smack him in the face before he believed that. So, yeah, so he believes it now.
Well, you just now got him to admit about the ghosts in the other house.
I know, but that's like I said, it has to smack him in the face before he believes it. You know, I'm kind of like a weird magnet.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if you were one, but obviously you are.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But that's okay.
Well, she was magneted to the Skype room with us, so I guess that's close enough evidence.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
but you were having all
and I think that's just that was it. If you can do things that are different, you know, I think it was just the fact that we were out there with picking up that garbage. I think they're like, what are they doing? I think it got their attention. It was curious as to what we were doing, and it was watching us, you know. And that's
just like also
how great
that you go out there and take a lot of pictures and everything, so you're not really focused on, your mind is not really thinking, I'm searching for Bigfoot. Your mind is on, I'm searching, yes. Yep. I think they can read your body language. They know what you're, when you're up to something. You look suspicious, you know. And
right. I never wear camo when I go out. Hardly. Oh, I like camo, though. I like camo.
My favorite
like wearing
color.
it.
Yeah.
I just wear it for every day. I don't hardly ever wear camo when I go out. I don't try to act like I'm hiding. I don't, you know, that kind of doesn't go. You're not going to get anywhere when you act like that. You're not, as far as that's how I'm concerned. I don't think you will. You know, you can't sneak up on them. You know, they're going to know. You can't hide that. Just some people say, you know, don't wear cologne, don't wear perfume. I put my perfume on every time I go out. It's not going to matter.
I always have it on, no matter what.
I do too.
Don't do it in green country.
It's a girl thing.
They're going to know anyway. Even if you don't wear it, they're going to know. So just like I have that little deer, she follows me all over the place. She, you know. It doesn't matter. I put my plot watcher up and we try to hide it. She'll have her nose in it within 5 minutes.
And you're walking out
She's been following me around. Yeah, she's been following me around since she was little. So.
And you're walking out there with a 38 in your pocket too. I mean, this thing about guns. Don't go out there with guns.
Yes.
Blah blah blah. You're walking around with.
It's not going to matter. I carry. Yeah. See, I do. I carry, you know, people say don't, you know, if you carry a weapon, they're not going to come around. And that's not true either, because I do carry sometimes and I don't carry sometimes. And it does not matter. You know, that it's intent. Is what matters. And, you know, so I have carried a weapon. And, I think they look at the person and see if the person is a threat. They can read your intent, and that's what matters. And so I agree with you on that, Graz.
So you've moved beyond the sticks. You've moved beyond the little balls. You've moved beyond some of the more playful little things. What are you into now when you go out? Are you just what are you thinking? What's your goal?
Well, I mean, lately, since I've just been going out and just basically, enjoying it. I mean, I've taken a little bit of a break from the research aspect. I do go out still. I mean, I'm in the same area. I go out, I take pictures. If I see a good print, I still cast it. And, I'm not so much, as far as the symbols and, if I see one there, I will take a picture of it. I'm not leaving any symbols out myself. And that's about where I'm at right now. I'm not, doing any particular research other than, just out taking pictures and, that's about it right now.
Well, a lot of people go through that stage where they go through the stage where they're trying to do all these things for Bigfoot. But after several years of playing with those things, you move into a lot of people move into a kind of a place where you're just going out for the experience itself and not necessarily for proof, because you've already seen it. You've already been through all this stuff. You know it's there.
Right.
You know it's a real thing. Possibly just for the experience itself. And you're out there taking pictures of stuff anyway. I mean, that's your main focus. You're out there. And they're around. And sooner or later, it's possible that they may show themselves to you again.
Yep, that's it. I'm basically out there enjoying myself. I'm out there to take pictures. That's what I enjoy doing. So, I'm out there hoping, while I'm out there taking pictures, that I'll be lucky enough that I will catch something, So, I mean, you go out there with that intent that you're out there enjoying yourself, that you're not out there for the sole purpose of just doing research, you're going to have a better chance, I think, of getting, maybe getting a good shot. I enjoy myself. I enjoy being out there. So,
well, you actually got a blob squatch a few years back.
Do what, Grass?
And so you actually got a blob squatch a few years back there.
I did, yeah.
And she went back and did a comparison picture, where it wasn't there. That's which is something that a lot of people don't do, but that was awesome.
Yeah, it was a decent one. I mean, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't a really, really bad one, actually.
The shape of it was, like it was a big head and shoulders, and it was stooped down, kind of, right?
Yeah, I remember that picture. Yeah.
And then you took a comparison shot.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and as far as blob squatches, it wasn't that bad, I don't think.
No. It was a black shape. It was technically a blob squatch, but we knew what it was, because you were there.
Right.
A lot of people
actually
were blob squatch.
Because I would go to this, to overlook deck and take pictures. So honestly, it was not bad, because it was actually standing behind this tree where, would be standing there if it was looking at me while I was taking pictures, which is not off, which would actually be quite right.
Normal. That's kind of a normal thing.
And you didn't see it until you got back home that night going through your pictures.
Right. No, I didn't see it. So, actually, Luke was the one that saw it.
Video,
Yeah. So he's the one that caught it. And, like Winona said, like Sis said, I went back and I took a picture and compared it, and it wasn't in the picture that I went back and took. So, but that's about the closest, probably about the best picture I've gotten so far. But like I said, I keep going out there, and I keep looking around. But in the meantime, I do enjoy myself, and I take other wildlife pictures, and hope, that I get lucky enough, and while I'm out there, I'll be able to catch something.
Well, we got 5 minutes left. Let's say you're at the library, you're talking to a bunch of people, and there's a bunch of newbies there. What is your advice for somebody who's going out for the first time?
Oh, my advice. I guess the best advice I could give somebody is, I would not, make sure you have a buddy, go out, make sure you have a partner to go out with. Make sure, my advice is, go out in daytime. A lot of people do want to do nighttime stuff. Daytime is always the best. It's safer. I think we've discussed this. Nighttime, nighttime is their time. So, make sure you're with a partner. Go during the daytime. Make sure you know the area that you're going to. Because it can be very dangerous if you don't know the area that you're actually hiking into. Make sure that, you have everything that you need in your backpack. Make sure you have a cell phone. And, I always have this is going to sound weird, but I always also have a little first aid kit. And that's about the best advice that I can give anybody. And have fun. Enjoy what you're doing.
And what do you think they eat out there? Because I see someone ask now.
Yes.
What do I think they eat? I don't know. There's people have, they think it's a various things, from roots to berries to nuts to deer. I don't know. It's just could be, any of those things. So I don't know. Could be any of those things. Like I said, as I walk along, I will, pick up, whatever's, out berries and all that stuff, and I will just lay them down in piles as I walk, and whatever gets them. I would never suggest leaving candy bars and stuff like that out. I never have, and I don't think it's a good idea. But if you're going to leave anything out, try to pick stuff that's in their environment, and I think that's probably the best ideal. I would never. I know other people leave all these wild things thinking they'll like them, but that's my advice. I think leaving all this junk food is not a good ideal. But
okay, Tina, I have one last question before we call it a show.
Okay.
You're definitely no kill.
Definitely.
Why do you think they should not be shot at?
They shouldn't be shot at because would you want to be shot at?
No.
Okay, there you go. That's why they shouldn't be shot at.
Great answer. Great answer.
There you go. There's my answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Tina. You were just absolutely great. You really were. And
well, thanks for having me.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thanks to Winona and Kenny for coming on also. It was great having you guys on.
Mm-hmm.
And We're going to let everyone know that we will not be having a show next week, but on the 17th of December, we'll be back with Dave Sadati from Florida. So everybody tune in 2 weeks. And get your Christmas shopping done. You know, it's not far away. So everyone say good night.
Night.
Good night. Night.
Night.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
And this is my impression of a traveling lounge singer. And we're going up the airport escalator. Hey, where you from? No response. Classic. Got in an accident, so you gotta take a cab, huh? No cabs at Progressive Service Centers. They got rental cars on site, which is out of sight, you know?
Progressive takes the hassle out of claims. Just drop your car off at one of our service centers and we'll manage the rest.
Here's a little number I like to call Waiting for the Shuttle Bus.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Service centers not available in all areas. You have a choice of repair facilities.